I'm the owner. I have the deed right here.
Residents only, turn around.
What's the problem?
He says he owns the development.
I own this land. Let me through.
Our title search is done. The land was
paid the
abandoned.
taxes
They built 96 houses on my land, not by accident, on purpose. I inherited 47 acres in Colorado from my grandfather, paid off and pristine. Went to visit the property for the first time in 3 years and found an entire subdivision where my forest used to be. Paved roads, streetlights, families moving furniture into houses. They'd paid $485,000 each for. The HOA president, a woman who'd never worked an honest day but wore a Rolex like a badge, told me to my face I was a deadbeat squatter trying to scam hard-working families, said her lawyer confirmed the land was abandoned, so adverse possession made it legally theirs. She'd already deposited $16 million in pre-sales. Here's what I did. Absolutely nothing. Let them finish construction, watch them landscape, paint, install pools. Then I walked into federal court with my grandfather's original 1971 deed. What would you do if someone built a neighborhood on your property? Drop your state below. Let's see where my land rights family is watching from. My name is Dakota Flint. Yeah, like the stone. 47 years old, structural engineer, divorced. I drive a 2008 Silverado that burns a quart of oil every month. Nothing special about me except one thing. My grandfather left me 47 acres of Colorado forest worth about $4.2 million. William Flint bought that land in 1971 for $8,200 cash. Depression-era guy kept every receipt in leather ledgers that smelled like pipe tobacco and WD-40. When he died in 2019, he left me the property with one note tucked inside the deed. Don't let the bastards take what's yours. I didn't visit for 3 years. Divorced, 2 kids in college, 70-hour work weeks, but I paid property taxes every April. $6,400 annually. Never late, always online. I had the email receipts. August 2022, I finally drove up to scatter Grandpa's ashes, turned off Highway 36 onto the old fire road, and my stomach dropped. The pine forest was gone. In its place, 96 Mediterranean stucco houses with fake balconies and HOA-mandated beige paint. A carved stone entrance sign read, Ridgeline Heights, a Whitmore luxury community. I checked my GPS 4 times, same coordinates. This was my land. At the gatehouse, a security guard stopped me. Residents only. I own this property, I said, holding up my phone with the deed photo. He smirked, sure, buddy, and I'm Elon Musk. Turn around. Before I could argue, a white Range Rover pulled up. Out stepped Cassandra Whitmore, mid-50s, Botoxed into a permanent look of mild surprise, wearing white linen that probably cost more than my monthly mortgage. She had that specific energy of someone who'd never been told no by anyone who mattered. Problem, Ray? She asked the guard, not looking at me. This gentleman claims he owns the development. Cassandra finally turned her eyes, scanned me. Work boots, Carhartt jacket, calloused hands. I watched her mentally file me under. Poor how charming. She said, Sweetie, if you're looking for construction work, most crews have filled their labor positions, but I can take your number. I'm not looking for work. I'm the legal owner. My grandfather, William Flint. Ah. She pulled out her phone, scrolled with manicured nails. Our title company ran a forensic search. This land was abandoned for over 3 years, which under Colorado Adverse Possession Statute 38 to 41, 101 means nothing if property taxes were paid. I interrupted. Her smile went sharp. That's adorable. You know, just enough to be dangerous. She pulled out a business card, held it between 2 fingers like it was contaminated. Brian Kemper, our attorney. He'll explain why your claim is, what's the legal term, frivolous. I took the card. How many houses are sold? All 96. Pre-construction sales totaled 16 million families are moving in by Thanksgiving. She said it like a threat. This is a legitimate development properly permitted through Boulder County. If you continue trespassing, I'll call Sheriff Mitchell personally. We're major contributors to his department's equipment fund. Then she did something that made my blood freeze. She pulled out her phone, snapped my license plate. Just in case you decide to come back and vandalize anything, we have excellent security footage. She leaned closer. And trust me, honey, people like you don't win against people like us. The diesel smell from a nearby excavator mixed with fresh concrete, a nail gun echoed, pop, 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 like a countdown. I drove home, hands shaking. That night, I spread Grandpa's documents across my kitchen table. The 1971 deed, 47 annual tax receipts, survey maps. Cassandra had threatened me, photographed my truck, and implied I was a criminal. She'd also just given me everything I needed to bury her. Monday morning, I called Brian Kemper, Cassandra's attorney. His receptionist had that voice, professionally pleasant in the way dentists are. When they're about to tell you that you need a root canal, Mr. Kemper is in depositions all week. Can I take a message? Dakota, Flint, about the Ridgeline Heights property? Pause. Oh yes, Mr. Kemper anticipated your call. He's authorized me to offer a nuisance settlement of $15,000 if you'll sign a quitclaim deed by Friday. $15,000 for $4 million in land. I'd heard about quitclaim deeds from my divorce. That's how my ex got the timeshare in Branson that neither of us wanted. Basically, you're signing away all your rights to something without anyone promising those rights actually exist. It's the legal equivalent of saying, I give up, don't even care if I'm right. My divorce lawyer had told me, never sign one unless you're absolutely sure you're walking away from nothing. Tell Mr. Kemper I'll see him in court, I said, and hung up before she could respond. I needed a real lawyer, not the guy who'd handled my divorce for $2,200. I needed the kind who makes other lawyers check their malpractice insurance. My buddy Marcus, a civil engineer in Cheyenne, gave me one name, Lydia Chen. She'd beaten a railroad company in a Wyoming adverse possession case so badly they'd offered her a job just to make her stop. Her consultation fee was $500. I paid it with a credit card and prayed. Lydia's office smelled like old leather and lemon furniture polish, the kind of smell that costs money to maintain. She was about 60, gray hair in a tight bun, reading glasses on a beaded chain. She listened to my entire story without interrupting, making notes and handwriting so perfect it looked like a font. When I finished, she set down her pen. Show me your tax receipts. I pulled out a folder thick enough to hurt someone. Email confirmations, bank statements, county records, every April payment since 2019, plus copies going back to Grandpa's first payment in 1971. She flipped through them and I watched her mouth twitch into something that might have been a smile on a less controlled face. Colorado adverse possession requires 18 years of open, continuous hostile possession, and the squatter has to pay property taxes the entire time. If you've been paying, their claim is stillborn. So I get an injunction. Stop construction. You could. She closed the folder. But here's what I'd do instead, and you're going to think I've lost my mind. Let them finish building. I stared at her. What? If you stop construction now, Cassandra's company declares bankruptcy. Your land gets tied up in a 3-year litigation circus with 96 families who bought homes in good faith, suing everyone, including you. Banks, title companies, insurance companies. It becomes legal whack-a-mole. She leaned forward. But if you let them finish, then file for declaratory judgment, you own 96 completed houses. Cassandra's company has committed textbook fraud, selling property they don't own. They'll be desperate to settle because the alternative is prison. My hands were shaking. What if they somehow win? They won't. But even in some parallel universe where they did, you've lost nothing. Your land's already occupied. The difference is whether you fight one corrupt developer or 96 traumatized families. It was cold, strategic, brutal, and it made perfect sense. How much? I asked $40,000 in legal fees, maybe 50. But when we win, and we will, the court awards damages for trespass, unjust enrichment, fraud, and attorney's fees. You'll own the houses outright, sell them, rent them, or negotiate a settlement worth millions. I had $12,000 in savings, my Silverado needed a transmission, my daughter's tuition payment was due in January. I'll figure it out. I heard myself say one last thing. Lydia's voice dropped. Don't contact Cassandra. Don't post on Facebook. Don't tell anyone except your kids and maybe one trusted friend. In property litigation, surprise is worth more than gold. I hired her that day, signed a retainer agreement that made my stomach hurt. September bled into October. I drove past Ridgeline Heights twice a week, parking on the public road with my phone camera running. Framers swarmed like ants. The air smelled like sawdust and diesel fuel. Plumbers hauled coils of PEX tubing. Electricians snaked wire through walls. And every time I visited, I took time-stamped photos. Cassandra spotted me during her 3rd week. She made a phone call. I could see her from 200 yards away, gesturing at my truck like I was a bomb. 20 minutes later, a sheriff's cruiser pulled up behind me. Deputy Torres. Young guy, probably late 20s, with the uncomfortable body language of someone caught between a rock and a campaign donor. Sir, need to see your license. I handed it over. I'm on a public road, officer. He walked back to his car. Ran my plates, came back looking like he'd rather be anywhere else. Mrs. Whitmore says you've been harassing her, following her, taking pictures. I'm documenting construction on property I own. Check Boulder County records, parcel APN 559324008. Owner, Dakota Flint. Torres shifted his weight. Look, if there's a property dispute, that's civil court. But she's filed a formal complaint. If she calls again saying you're threatening her, I'll have to take action. Understand? Translation, she donates to the sheriff's re-election fund. You don't. Understood. He left. I kept taking pictures. By November, the first families moved in. U-Hauls blocking cul-de-sacs, kids on scooters, the smell of pizza delivery mixing with fresh paint. I watched a couple carry a crib into house number 43. watched another family plant a maple tree in their front yard, and I felt sick. Because these weren't villains, they were people who'd saved for down payments, who believed they were living the American dream. But Cassandra, she was about to learn that stealing costs more than money. Thanksgiving week, Cassandra sent me a certified letter. I signed for it at the post office, and the clerk, a woman named Deb, who'd known my grandfather, wrinkled her nose when she saw the return address. Whitmore Development, LLC. That's the lady building those McMansions on Old Mill Road, right? She handed me the envelope. My sister tried to buy one. They want $485,000 for 18 square feet. Highway robbery. I opened it in my truck. Legal letterhead, Brian Kemper's signature at the bottom. 3 pages of dense legalese that boil down to stop trespassing or will sue you for harassment. There was a photo attached, my Silverado parked on the public road, taken from inside the subdivision. Someone had circled my license plate in red Sharpie, handwritten in the margin. Document everything. I drove straight to Lydia's office. She read the letter, then started laughing. Not the polite kind, but the genuine belly laugh of someone who'd just been handed a gift. They're documenting their own fraud, she said, wiping her eyes. Every letter they send, every photo they take, every interaction, it's evidence that they knew there was a dispute and kept building anyway. This is beautiful. Doesn't feel beautiful. Feels like I'm being stalked. You are. But here's what you're going to do. Nothing. Let them waste money on legal threats. Let them generate evidence. We'll file in January, right after the holidays when everyone's distracted. She pulled out a yellow legal pad. Meanwhile, I need you to get me everything about Cassandra Whitmore. Property records, business filings, tax liens, anything public. I want to know who's financing this development. I spent the next 2 weeks becoming an amateur detective. Turns out when you're an engineer, you know how to read plats, survey maps, and permit applications. I started with Boulder County's online records. Whitmore Development LLC was registered in Delaware. Always a red flag. Delaware corporations are like offshore bank accounts for people who want to hide things, with Cassandra as the sole managing member, but the financing came from Ridgeline Capital Group, a Denver-based investment firm. I dug deeper. Ridgeline Capital was owned by 3 partners, and one of them was married to Cassandra. His name was Preston Whitmore, a real estate developer who'd been sued twice for construction defects and once for defrauding investors in a failed resort project. The cases had been settled quietly, records sealed, so this wasn't just Cassandra's scam. It was a family business. I found more. The Boulder County permits listed the land as formerly tax delinquent, acquired via adverse possession. Claim filed March 2022. But here's the thing about adverse possession. You can't just claim it, you have to prove it in court. First, get a judgment, then record that judgment before you can sell property. They'd skipped that step. They'd filed a claim, then immediately started selling lots as if the claim had been granted. That's fraud. Premeditated, documented fraud. I sent everything to Lydia in an encrypted email, because by now I'd learned that developers like the Whitmores have ways of making people's lives difficult. She called me an hour later. Dakota. This is better than I thought. Preston Whitmore has a pattern. If we can prove he knew about your ownership and proceeded anyway, this becomes criminal fraud, not just civil trespass. How do we prove that? Let me worry about that. You just keep your head down. But keeping my head down got harder when Cassandra escalated. December 3rd, I got a call from Boulder County Code Enforcement, a man named Rick Paulson, who sounded tired. In the way government workers do. When they're handling their 50th complaint of the day, Mr. Flint, we've received a report that you're operating an illegal dumping site on parcel 59324,008. What? I don't even live there. The complaint says there are piles of construction debris, old vehicles, and possible hazardous waste. I'm required to inspect. If the violations are confirmed, you'll face fines starting at $500 per day. I drove up that afternoon with my phone recording. The property was pristine. Well, except for the 96 houses Cassandra had.